Hi, 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 hi. Da, 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 da. Hi, I'm Allison Lane. I'm the host of the Creative Nonfiction Community. Candace and Mona are here with me, moderators for the community. We are almost 1,000 people now, 1,000 writers who are serious about our writing. Some of us are published, some are agented, some are getting agented, some are pitching, some are just starting out. And you know what? We're here for everybody. This is a free community. Every 2 weeks, we get together for a workshop, a webinar, to answer questions, to complain, and solve each other's issues. So whether you're new or you've been around for a couple of years, we are here for you. And there are all types of ways that we can help you and you can help everyone else. Our rule is simple. It is ask for what you need and share what you know. So if you're not already doing that, you are missing out on the benefits of being in a community. If you feel like you would like to get it more involved, you can DM me because we need more moderators. When we started out, this group was 6 people. 6 people. Now it's 1,000 people. So if you're interested in that, if that's appealing to you, then DM me or DM Candace or Mona. And just so you know, here's what is involved in being the moderator. It's just like inviting people in. There's no big training. It's like being a good host means inviting people in, showing them where they can get stuff, where can they get support, pointing them to the content that they might need. Just like if you had a dinner party or a barbecue, you would say, come on in. And then you wouldn't leave people in your foyer or in your living room. You would take them to the kitchen and get them something to drink and then tell them, hey, everybody's outside playing volleyball or standing around the grill. So you just, maneuver people wherever they are, wherever they want to be, and make sure that they are getting something out of this community. Okay, we're going to jump into a ton of questions because the theme of this particular, of today's workshop is navigating your path to publishing, and which is really, we're going to answer questions. We have dozens of questions that we've grouped into some categories, and this is rapid fire. At any time, if anybody has a question, put it in the chat and I will stop between questions, and that way if anybody else has something to share, we certainly can do that. Also, I just want to say hello to Regina, my assistant, my beloved, who is joining us, and Kay. Okay, rapid fire. The first question comes from Lexus. Thank you, Lexus, for your question. How can I cope with experiences such as grief, writing about experiences such as grief, and then organizing countless journal pages? This is the same question Lexus also asked, but here's the second question. What about the first time writing nonfiction? Here is the answer to that. So if this is your first time writing nonfiction, or if you're trying to cope with the first time you're writing and things are coming up, here's the answer. Let those things come up. Make sure that you are getting everything out, and then give yourself time to reflect on the thing that you're writing about, because you have to write your monsters. And if that is grief, if that is pain, if that is anguish, then you're going to have to write that out. When you're writing that out, you might need to tap into, put yourself back into that experience. What did it smell like? What sounds did you hear? Write all of that. And then if you're trying to transcribe countless journals, then yes, here's what you do. You use a voice to text app like otter.ai, which is my friend. It is free. Free is good. or you can talk directly into your laptop. I don't know if everyone knows that, but my laptop has something that it calls voice writing, which is so weird, or voice typing, which is not typing at all. You just sit there and you talk at your computer and it captures everything. And if you want to say period, you say period. Or if you just want to throw up, verbal vomit, you do that too. The most important thing is to get it out there and do not edit while you're doing it. Okay. And Lexus, I can't wait to see what it is that you're writing about. Okay. Next question. Kirsten Donahue asked this. Thank you, Kirsten, for your question. What are some pointers for writing in second person point of view? 3 answers to that. First is you want to take a look at other books that are written in second person. The best list that I was able to come up, lickety split, was on Goodreads. All I did was type in second person books, and some great recent books came up. The Night Circus. And I have this up, so I just am going to take a looky-loo. The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. Bright Lights, Big City, that's a Jay McInerney. You by Carolyn Kepnes. The fifth season, that's N.K. Jemisin, that's sci-fi. You can take a look at what's being written and get inspired. Second, make sure you capture what it is that you want to say, again, using otter.ai, or put a picture right up on your computer and use that voice typing. That way you're speaking to the you, but you're capturing it. And I'm moving fast and furious, so I'm going to check questions in a minute. The next question comes from Judy Thenura. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that right, Judy. I apologize. Judy asks, what are the platforms where I can publish humorous content? There are so many. A couple of ways that you can find where you can publish your humor or satire. One is Submittable. You can even get, updates from Submittable, and they'll give you, a ton of options. A couple of others are Slackjaw, which is on Medium, Little Old Lady Comedy, Robot Butt, great name, Frazzled, which might be behind a paywall on Medium, but you could get paid for that, through Medium. It's like pennies, but still. You can submit to Electric Literature, or you can create a list for yourself, but you can also reverse engineer what other writers are doing. One such writer that I recommend following is Lucy Frost, who I interviewed here, I want to say in fall of last year, and I will now share the interview. She is a satire writer and humorist who wrote this amazing piece for Slackjaw called Sleep Left Me for a Younger Woman, and that was dubbed Nearly Effing Perfect by Writing Class Radio. I think it's really important to take a look at what other people are doing and reverse engineer what they're doing. Now, Lucy is not a lifelong humor writer. She's just a lifelong funny person. and also she's daring. So when I interviewed her, and when she talked about it, she said, the thing is, with humor, with satire, you have to go big. And once you go big, you got to even go bigger than that. So she gives a lot of tips. That's available on the YouTube channel, and Regina made sure that those that there are timestamps so you can even skip forward, and it is transcribed so you can see, you can even scroll through. Okay, I'm going to take a second and just go through the questions. Regina is saying to me, I love the hair. Thank you, Regina. I know that was a direct message, but you people, my hair was a big hot mess this morning, and then Regina and I got off the phone, and then I went and did this for you. So you are welcome. Candace, thank you. Candace says thumbs up. Lisa says, hi everyone, didn't realize you put these calls on YouTube. I for sure do. We record the workshop because we can, and because we're here to help each other, and a lot of people who are joining now might have a question about how to query agents. Well, I did an hour on that last year. How to develop your marketing plan, how to use all the writing hacks that are free that every writer uses. There's a list of like 40. It's in the webinar and on a cheat sheet. And as a lifelong marketer, my thought is if I have to do it twice, then we create a template or a cheat sheet or something, because that's how we get faster and more efficient at everything. Mona says, Workle Flump has a contest every year that pays for winning humor content. So that's another option. Okay, perfect. Let me hop back into the questions list. Okay, Candace says, in writing a review, should I give an author a chance to look at my review before I try and place it? Candace, I expect that this is when an author in this group has asked for a review. This is not you just buying a book at the library, not the library, at your local bookstore and saying, you know, I'm going to go ahead and review this. This is a book where you know someone and you want to be a good literary citizen.
Yes, that is exactly right.
Okay. I had to do this too, and I felt weird about it. I had offered to develop a review for Kathy Beale's book, Eat, Drink, and Be Wary. This was last year. And I had offered, she said, great, here it is. She sent it to me in a digital format, and I devoured it. And as I was writing what I thought was going to be like a really chunky Goodreads review, it turned into something so long as I was writing it. And I thought, this is actually content. So I sent it to her and I said, what do you think about me pitching this as content? Mostly because I didn't want to overstep. And if she was looking for fast, Amazon reviews, then I wanted to make sure that she was getting what she needed. And she responded in 2 minutes. She couldn't have actually read what I offered her. And she said, that sounds great. And so even though I felt weird about it, I asked her anyway, because I didn't, I just wanted her thumbs up. And it turned out my piece got picked up I pitched 5 publications on the same day, and Moms Don't Have Time to Read picked it up in 24 hours. Months later, I got an acceptance from the Brevity blog, which would have had a much larger audience, but it was months later, and that piece can only be published once. So I had to decline that, and that was bad on me. I should have withdrawn it. But I did get a nice note from the editor there, Allison K. Williams, who wrote plugging in Allison's book. Allison's book is 7 drafts, which is laugh out loud funny. And and amazing. And I've reviewed this, but on Goodreads and Amazon. I didn't write that. But yes, I think it's nice to just say, hey, here's the review. But if it's really just for Goodreads and Amazon, I don't think there's any need to. I think it's nice to let somebody know, like, hey, I wrote something about my experience reading your book and I'm going to pitch it. And obviously, this is when what you're sharing is positive. If, however, you know someone and they ask you to read your book and you don't feel great about it, that is not the time to write a negative review. A negative review is for something that you purchased and where you're not in a community, or a really bad kitchen tool that you bought on Amazon. But I don't think that that it's worth giving negative reviews or even writing a review about something that didn't quite, strike you in the heart. Is good. It's a way to lose friends and stop influencing people. Not that Candace would ever do that. Okay. Question. Marlon Ween, who has written a really great memoir, and I think some of us have seen his query letter. The question is, how long should my chapters be when I'm writing a manuscript? Quick answer is, what are your comps? What are your recent comps? And look at those chapter lengths. Long answer is, people are used to bite-sized content. And this came up with a client of mine recently. She wrote, her book is about 70,000 words, and her chapters were 30 pages long. No, nobody wants to read they want to feel like they're getting bite-sized, digestible content. So my advice to her was, each of those chapters needs to be 3 chapters. And here's the fix for that. You give those 3 chapters, put it part 1 and name the part. That way you're still chunking the content, which might have been a really long chapter, but 5 pages, 7 pages, especially memoir. And especially in this day of digital bite-sized content, people want to be able to pick something up and put it down, and also to feel like they have a cliffhanger or something that's driving them to read a couple more pages. So shorter is better. In terms of word count, 2,100 words is a good length, or less. That's about 6 pages. Great question from Farah Sen. In this group, can we discuss other book genres other than nonfiction? Quick answer, yes, of course. Many of us are writing cross-genre, true crime, sci-fi, poetry, children's books. We are writers, and this group is focused on getting published and marketing our work, no matter what. And so much of what we share here are tools and resources that help all writers. But when we named the group, we needed a name, and it's better to be specific. So, creative nonfiction community is where we landed. Thank you. Christina Rich asked this next question. Where can you find writing jobs? Writing jobs are everywhere, but if you want them to come to you, I suggest this: subscribing to Sonia Weiser's newsletter. I think it's $3 a month, and that is an optional charge. You cannot pay it, but $3 is good, and they are very timely jobs very specific, you can look at a binders group called Binders Full of Ghostwriters. That's another option. You can look at Submittable. You can look on Twitter and use the advanced search. And you can look on Help a Reporter Out, which is HARO. All of these places have writing jobs. If you're looking for a full-time job, they're posted there. Also, Poets and Writers Magazine, also Publishers Marketplace. If you're looking for a full-time or even contract work, writing jobs are everywhere. You just have to ask what you want to know. Let me stop and check the chat. Oh, I did also want to, somebody had asked about, Mona, Candace, and I were talking about this question comes up a lot, and it's asked in a ton of different ways. Here's the question. I wrote an amazing book / memoir / whatever it is. Can I lift content from my amazing work of genius and publish that in order to market the book, in order to publicize the book, in order to find an agent? And this is asked another way is, can I get, should I publish or submit an excerpt or a chapter from my memoir? And will that jeopardize my chances of having my memoir published? Here's the answer to that. And it's not a yes or no. The answer is, you worked on your book, but your work is really being the spokesperson for your theme. So the way to sell anything is not to give people a sample of the thing. It's not to say, so if you, this is, I ran PR for Burt's Bees, so I'm just going to, give you a little metaphor here. This is a Burt's Bees flavor. It's called Orange Blossom and Pistachio. There's no reason why these two things should go together, Orange Blossom and Pistachio, but this is the flavor. That's what we call the different SKUs or the different offerings. And if I'm selling this, I'm not handing out samples on a little tiny stick of, why don't you try this? Instead, I'm developing content that talks about why this is needed in the world. Orange Blossom delivers X, Y, and Z, and Pistachio has antioxidants because nuts have that. So if you want to sell your memoir, you don't want to chop it up and publish chapters, because your future publisher will actually want to do that as part of marketing your book, which is a product. You are about your brand. You are Burt's Bees. Your book is the Orange Blossom and Pistachio lip balm in this very cute orange container, right? So no, I would not lift a chapter from your memoir and publish it somewhere. I would instead look at writing something that is a complimentary piece, an essay or a service article, which is, instead of about you, it's about the reader, of what would you share with them? What a different spin on something that's in your memoir, and look at all the different ways that you could do that. That's part of your marketing plan for marketing yourself. So your job is to develop content that leads people to your book and also your next book, and to be read. You want to, what's the word that I'm looking for? You want to collect bylines, which is, your bundle of bylines, the pieces that you write. You want to make sure that you are getting those in publications that are complementary. So two writers you could look at right now who are doing a great job doing this, developing their book and then marketing themselves. One is Debbie Lewis, who wrote Kitchen Medicine. That is a memoir, but it's also real. There, a lot of her content is about service. She's in this group, and Debbie, if you're with us today or watching, I love your book, and I owe you a fantastic review as well. And also Aileen Weintraub, who wrote Knocked Down, a high-risk memoir. I consulted with Aileen, who asked the same thing. How can I promote? How can I get it out there? And she was getting really involved in putting together social media tiles and should she do ads? But no, nobody wants that. They don't want to be sold something. They want stories. So they want more stories. So don't chop up your book. Write more. Your job is writer. You are the brand. Let's see. Questions. Oh, hey, Jenny Stanley. I didn't get a chance to put this question out before. I'm looking to where to find the information about how many of a published book were actually sold. Okay. There is not an exact way to tell. So let me just say this again. So a lot of people who are looking to put together their book proposals or to compare against to create their sales forecast for their book want to compare to a book that's recent in the last 3 years, published in the last 3 years, that's a good seller or a good seller or a great seller, but not iconic. We cannot compare our debut novel or our debut memoir or our debut nonfiction true crime piece to a global blockbuster or a book that has spawned a theme park or a movie franchise, etc. So we want to avoid those, right? And what we want instead is to look at Amazon, and you can scroll to the bottom where it has the publisher's information. It'll say publisher, date published, the size of the book, the how many pages, and then it'll show the rank in Amazon. When I'm working one-on-one with writers to develop their book proposals and get them agents and then sold, I look at the genre, but overall, I like for those comps to be in the top 200,000. So I'm not looking for number one books. You cannot compare your book to anything written by Oprah. Even if you're writing about trauma and Oprah's book is, I think it's called What Happened to You. And so I look at books that are rank in the top 200,000 unless it's super specific, like a spiritual self-help might not, none of the books in spiritual self-help might rank in the top 200,000. So I might go down to the top 300,000. And I'm working on a book proposal with one of the writers in our group, Narayani Gaia, who's a spiritual healer. And I'm not looking at those, top ones because it's not fair and they're not relevant. So hopefully that helps, Jenny. I think that you asked some other questions. Jenny, did you have something, a follow-up? I can unmute you if you want to. No? Okay. All right. So I can also share my screen in a minute and I'll show you, I'll do a little looky-loo for everybody and then everybody can see. Rachel. Hi, Rachel. Rachel says, I have written some short, powerful essays and op-eds about things related to my book and tied to the movie CODA. And for those of you who don't know, CODA is the acronym for Children of Deaf Adults. So Rachel is profoundly deaf, and she is a very active member of our group, which has taught me to enunciate when I am talking, when we're all together, because it helps the transcript be more accurate, which Rachel has also said the transcripts, no matter how much I enunciate, are about 65% correct. But any percent is better than zero, right? Okay, so Rachel her agent has her book out on submission. Okay, so Rachel has written this amazing memoir about having been a deaf educator of deaf children in a hearing public school system. You can imagine the challenges and the crap that she had to put up with. She has pitched big places like New York Times, etc. No luck, although HuffPost is interested in one. That's great. That's great. But she's super discouraged because so far, no luck. She wonders, am I aiming too high? Nervous about the window of time for CODA, articles passing if they don't win the Oscars. Any advice? I also wonder if they're too powerful. Hearing people may be confused or shocked by them. It's hard. Having a hard time figuring out who to submit to at a given venue. Advice is also hard to find places to pitch pieces in the 2,000 word range. Yes. Yes, Rachel, let's talk about it. Number one, I am going to put into the chat the freebie for where to pitch. Okay, so all of you should have this. If you don't have it already, I have a freebie, which is for, I know you do, but I'm just giving it to everybody. If you're wondering, like Rachel, where should I pitch? Please, I put together a list of 80-something publications, including humor, and parenting and beauty and, hard news, all the places you could pitch. You can get it directly to your email. And if you scroll over the names, they are hyperlinked. They're not in that obnoxious blue that otherwise the page would look like a dumpster fire. But it's all for you and it's free. Just download it. Okay, so back to Rachel's question. First, Rachel, where should you pitch? Actually, first I want to talk about your content. I don't think anything is hard to write about. There's nothing that you can write about that's harder than anything else that's been written about. So you can set that aside. You don't have to couch or soften anything that you're going to write about. The more provocative you can be, the better. If you're having, a reckoning with the hearing world, have it. Okay? People need to know your point of view and they need to accept it. And you don't have to change your point of view. Also, if anyone here is thinking, the thing that I'm writing about is delicate, you can't shock us. I share a lot in this group. I am 51. I am an adult orphan. I was raped at 16. My father went to jail for killing his girlfriend at 11. We've all been through some stuff, okay? And we share it all. So I get shocked by nothing. That's just a snippet about me. So you can't shock me and you can tell me anything, and this is a safe space. Okay. We also, if you come to the compassionate critique, we don't record those. So I'm sharing because this is my group and I run this, and I don't care who knows my stuff because I'm an open book, and also because I have healed from those things. That doesn't mean I've forgiven anyone, but I can write about them now, which is different than how things used to be, when anytime I talked about my rape and what it felt like to be held down, I would cry. And now I'm just pissed. So, you know, if that's you, don't, I think people need to hear, to know, sorry, Rachel, not to hear, but like to read, to know, to accept that this isn't shocking. This is just everyone's everyday, especially if you're a woman. So no, don't couch what you're saying. Second, are you going too big? No. But if you are pitching a 2,000 word piece for a publication that is usually publishing 750 words, then you cannot fit that square peg into that round hole. So a lot of the places where I've pitched, you know, I've had to edit up or edit down in order to adhere to their submission guidelines. So the piece, for instance, that I wrote for Moms Don't Have Time to Write, or Moms Don't Have Time to Read, sorry, I wrote that as 700 words, 900 words, and 1,200 words. I just did. And, you know, out of the 5 I pitched, I got 2 yeses. One was an immediate yes, and one was 3 months later, which is standard because it wasn't, you know, it didn't have to be timely. Now, if you're pitching something that's timely, like Rachel, if you have not pitched Shondaland, you should pitch Shondaland because that is specifically about entertainment. If you're pitching, you know, you as a, not just because it's your essays are a timely because of CODA, but if your essay is a reflection on CODA as a deaf educator, then your piece belongs in Shondaland.
Shondaland?
Shonda, it's Shanda. Yeah.
You're saying Shondaland, like the writer of some of these big TV shows?
Yes.
Shandaland, Shondaland?
SHA, here, I'm gonna I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you. Yeah, because the captions are crazy for this one.
Sorry. Shonda, it's with an O.
Okay. Yeah, I actually did pitch them already, but I'm gonna try again right after this. I'm going crazy pitching all these different places, and HuffPost showed some interest in one that had nothing to do with CODA. And it's frustrating because I'm working like 13 hours a day on this every day, you know, knocking myself out with these articles for CODA, and nothing is working so far. Nothing's getting picked up, and they're very strong, polished articles of all different lengths.
I've read your writing. You're a strong and polished and immersive and rich writer. And I feel your experience when I read your work. What it might be is your pitch. If you are not getting input on your pitches through this group, you should cut and paste one into the thread, into the discussion board, and get input from the writers in this group. How strong is your pitch? How fast can you get it? We're all invested in your success. So maybe there's something about your pitch. And maybe by sharing your pitch, maybe it is perfect. Maybe someone will say, oh, you know where you should pitch that? And it'll be someplace that you haven't thought of.
Wow, good.
Mary says your story is important to tell. We have a lot of educators and former I think if you're an educator for life, but you know, former teachers in this group. I have lost my cursor. Oh, there she is. Yeah. Mona says, I'm with Allison. I write about hard stuff in my poetry from my childhood. Yeah. Mona writes about some hard stuff. And then she puts it into these innovative poetry formats that make you feel the rhythm of the trauma. But the words and that format make them even more powerful as a reflection of what children can endure. Candace.
Yeah, I just want to say to Rachel that I don't know if this has an impact, but I feel like CODA is just now coming into the radar of the general public because it recently was released and it just got nominated. So, you know, I don't know if it's worth going back to some of the publications or not, but that's what I think. I just learned about it last week when I got a chance to see it. And I was like, oh my God, this is an amazing movie. And then like 2 days later, it was not, you know, it came up for one of, you know, the Screen Public Producers Award or something. But I'm just saying that now, right now, in this moment is when it's really gaining some serious, people are seeing it. So keep that in mind too. I don't know if that helps, but.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that's great to know because deaf people have known about it for for a few months now. And to know that the hearing mainstream public is just finding out about it now is very important. So I appreciate that. And it is hidden on Apple TV.
I know.
It's not that easy for people to find, unfortunately. Okay, thank you.
You know what else?
I don't have an Apple TV account. I was at a friend's house. So that was the only way that I got to see it. So yeah.
Wow.
The other thing I wanted to say, I don't have Apple TV either, and I haven't seen it. I only know about it from Rachel. What I found, though, is that now that the stars from CODA are doing talk shows, they are on entertainment shows. And, the talk shows are very digitally savvy. So they chop up their interviews and the stars are telling these very funny stories that are now like they pop up as reels on Instagram and reels on Facebook, and yet they're not transcribed. They actually have interpreters speaking their voice in the interview. So they'll be on the Drew Barrymore show or the Kelly Clarkson show, and they're having this entire conversation. And that seems like another angle for you about what, they're telling these funny stories, which are hilarious if you're deaf. And they are just like funny, haha, but funny like God. If you're a hearing person, I just watched one yesterday, and the star was saying that he and some other people rented a B&B and were having a lovely conversation and loving evening, and they saw these lights on. They were on of their neighbors, and the cops showed up and were trying to get in, and they had to sort of sign and kind of let the police know, like, we're deaf, we can't hear you, what is the issue? So they had to write everything out, and it turned out that there was a fire alarm going off in their home, in the home that was like blaring like a foghorn for hours. And of course they didn't know because they're deaf.
You know what's funny is these stories, they're telling them as if it just happened to them, but these stories are folk stories in the deaf culture. In other words, one of the the ones that a clip from the Kelly Clarkson show. The guy was telling a story of something that happened to him in the car with his mother and music. And it had happened to me also. And it's a typical deaf story. And hearing people don't know this. They think that it just happened to that person. But deaf people know that this is a deaf story. It's part of deaf folklore. And it's incredible seeing the hearing public suddenly be in on these stories. It's an incredible feeling. So I put that right at the top of one of my articles, how it feels to have our culture, our innermost, most intimate moments as deaf people blast into mainstream consciousness. And it's exciting. I feel like it's a spotlight moment for deaf people. It's a moment where things are going to start to change because we're coming out of the closet and we're on TV telling the most personal stories we have. And the hearing world is suddenly seeing them, and they don't have to be ashamed. Like Kelly Clarkson, after that story, she laughed so hard. She had a gut-busting laugh. And, you know, normally I'd be a little offended. A hearing person is laughing.
Offended.
Huh?
I'm totally offended. I was mortified. I think that I just took it as like, that is freaking awful. The police come, and as he was telling that story, I was so nervous for the outcome. The police come, they're banging. They can't hear the banging. So imagine, you know, like that story could have taken a left-hand turn. It could have been tragic. And I was like, oh, Christ, what is going to happen? I'm so glad it turned out great. And they had a funny laugh, and it's a hilarious story. But to me, it's awful. So, you know, like, isn't it hilarious that this happened to some friends who were all deaf, and that the police had to come and they didn't hear the fire? I don't know if it was a fire alarm or a fog horn or something, but they didn't hear this. Say it was a fire alarm. Like, that could have ended poorly. So I get what you're saying. I think that there's another angle to that. And this is another example of how every story has 15 angles.
Hey, Allison, may I say something?
Of course.
Rachel,
Yeah.
check out Twitter because there are so many paying journals on Twitter that also publish articles based on theme, and you can look for themes that might fit into what you're writing about. I know I just sent some poetry based on disability themes, and I don't remember right now what the journal is. I could look it up maybe, but they were looking for disability themes that were hopeful. And that certainly sounds hopeful to me.
Wow. Yeah, I really want to get better at Twitter. I'm trying. Twitter is a little bit bewildering to me. But there seem to be so many good opportunities and good resources there.
Yeah, there are.
Wow, yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Another question came in through email. And this is a question that I think a lot of people ask, which is, my book is getting good reviews, but I need more sales. What do I do? How can I get it out there more? This question comes from Vicki Rubin, and her book was positively reviewed by Kirkus. It's sitting on the Kirkus website as a Get It, which is their recommendation. And, she asked, how can I get more out there? And the question is really whether you're published or you're not published, or many of my clients, after I get them agents and their agents sell their book, or their agents say, we need to promote you more, they come back and they say, I'm supposed to hire a publicist. No, do not hire a publicist. I am a career publicist. You could learn everything you need to know from me, and I will teach you how to do it. And then you can, you don't need somebody working for you. A publicist costs $3,500 a month to start. So if anyone of you is sitting on an extra $10,000, let me know and I'll take your money. But no, you don't need to do that. The answer to the question is, how do I get more attention for the thing that I'm selling? Whether it's your work or your coaching business or your podcast that you just launched or your book that's already out there, the answer is this. You have to be your best marketer. That means you have to know what your marketing plan is going to be. And it has to be one step up from everything else on the market. I always start with a competitive analysis, which sounds really intimidating, but it's not. It is literally 2 hours of digital dumpster diving. See what's out there. See how, what competitors are doing, or peers, or speakers on the same topic, and then take the insights. But it has to be people or voices of today. Okay, so that's number one. And then what do you do with it? You have to find how you address all the things they address, and then one more. So it's your point of difference, or in marketing, we call it your reason why, your differentiator. Based on everything that's out there, the point of that marketing plan is to say, I do this or I do this, but from this point of view. And the only way to do that is to go through this process, which has been polished and honed by traditional marketers for years and years. Again, I'm giving this to you as someone who ran PR for Unilever, the Dove campaign for Real Beauty. I led PR at The Body Shop, the cosmetics company, which is how I know how to put on foundation. You should have seen me earlier. I did not look like this. And I'm telling you, this can be easier. I have just put everything that I know how to do, that I do with my one-on-one clients that takes 2 months. I have put all of that into a program called your Badass Book Proposal, but it is literally, whether you're self-publishing or you're not, or you want to get an agent, or you've already gotten all of this and you still need to promote your work, you can take this. It's self-directed, but then you still get access to me. It's $9.97, and you'll save yourself so much money. Please do. All the content goes live. I'm going to put the link live here. All the content goes live in May, because May is when I was born May 4th. So May the 4th be with all of us. So first, that's the answer to that, is how do you get more? Now, you have to promote yourself. And a book proposal, even though you think of it as something that is only needed by a traditional publisher, you still need your back cover copy, which is the relevance of your book, or the relevance of you, or the relevance of your novel, or your program, or your the class that you're teaching. That's the overview of what is it, what do I get, with a promise for the customer or the reader or the person who takes your course. Then there is a comparison of the recent peer group, let's call it, not competitors, but similar voices that offer something different. You have to You have to know what those are. Candace knows this very well because she has been a member of this group. She wrote her memoir and then submitted her memoir to multiple small publishers, and one of them gobbled it up, and she had to still create her back cover copy, which she workshopped in this group. So everything she did piece by piece, step by step. Your marketing plan is a jigsaw puzzle, and you have to own that. If you're not a natural marketer, or if you don't have, my experience in marketing, you can just follow this and we'll talk you through it, or you can get it all at once. And like I'm talking about. The other thing is that you have to create content. And that means building your marketing plan so that you know what those tasks might be. So that's pitching media, pitching yourself to be at a conference, a speaking engagement, pitching yourself to be on podcasts, which are different than speaking engagements and that are different than pitching media. So that marketing plan is something that you can develop or on your own, or you can get my template, and it's 30 pages long, and it's fill in the blank and so much easier. I'm just so glad. Candace. I
just want to just throw in while you're saying that the process of writing the proposal and the a query letter and synopsis, all of those things, a marketing plan, all of that was super important. Even though the publisher I ended up going with, I didn't have to send my full proposal. She had a whole process, but I used everything in that proposal to fill out her specifics of what she wanted, including the marketing plan. So the query letter, synopsis, proposal, all those things, whether you use them as a full product or not, you're using them. It's super important to getting to the finishing line of finding a publisher, or even if you're going to self-publish, it's all super valuable. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you for that. That is a really great way to put this. You have to be your best marketer every time, all the time. Even after your book comes out, you're marketing yourself as a speaker. You're marketing yourself for events. You're always going to come back to the content. The biggest obstacle that I find with people developing their book proposals or their marketing plans is they want to start with the elevator pitch first. And that's the last thing you do. The last thing you do is you put the cherry on the sundae, right? You don't start with that. The elevator pitch, the log line, even the title, that's the cherry. Everything else, the ingredients, they're the base. The first step is something else. So don't start with your query. Don't start with your log line. Start with the mind of a traditional marketer. And if you need help, I'm here. You can talk to Candace. You can talk to anybody. We are here for you. Oh, Laura. Hi. I met Laura. Just by the way, I met Laura on Saturday at my mother-in-law's 90th birthday party in rural North Carolina. She lives in a tiny house, you guys. It's amazing, and she's writing a culinary memoir. Lara, remind me the title. Can you take yourself off mute for a sec, or I can unmute you?
It's called Memories from the Cookie Jar.
Amazing.
It'll be beloved recipes that we've collected from friends and that have been passed down, but it's really the connections that we have with food that stir up all of these memories. So it's the memories from my mother and I growing up, her growing up, and then me growing up, and then sharing that so that everyone else, as they bake these recipes in their own kitchens, can create their memories so that they can have that for years to come.
Mm. Laura, I wanted to make
title.
Yep. I wanted to make sure that you connect with Stephanie Weaver, who's in this group.
Okay.
And she hosts a web series called The Blue and Yellow Kitchen and is a cookbook author. She is the migraine cookbook and the migraine handbook, and she is a chronic illness advocate and also quite the chef.
That's amazing.
We are working on her memoir proposal yesterday, but she's a friend. I mean,
awesome.
Actually, we're all friends. We all show up, and I share a lot of myself. I don't ask enough from everybody here, but I'm gonna, because I'm gonna make time to actually write. Anyway, in 2 weeks, April 6th, Candace and Mona will be hosting, because I must get my mammogram unless I can get there and back. But Candace and Mona will be hosting compassionate critiques. That means bring your problem, bring your proposal, bring your page, bring your priority and get input. Bring your anything and get input. We break into groups of 3. You read a page or you share what you need, and you get input from writers instantly. So this is insta-love, and you just are there to absorb it and take it in. And you don't have to actually bring anything. Sometimes you can learn something just from showing up. And so don't feel like you have to come and share. Sometimes that could be a little bit intimidating, but show up for each other. And I will join as fast as I can after my girls get checked out. All right. Any questions? We're going a little bit over, but we started a couple minutes late. Candace, do you want to say anything?
Carol's got her hand up.
Yeah, I was wondering, when we break into groups, is it possible to mix members with experience? For example, I'm new at this, and the last week I was put in, it was only 2 of us, and we were both newbies. And, we had chat, but we were kind of like the blind leading the blind.
Oh, we will try and do that. Yep. We will try and do that. In fact, that is another reason why we need more moderators who have been with the group, who can step in, because as we're growing, more people are showing up. And I used to just bounce around between 2 or 3 groups, and now we're breaking into 10 or 15 groups, and it would be too invasive for me to pop into 15 groups. So that's why Mona and Candace have stepped in. Thank heaven. They've raised their hands, and yeah, we will certainly do that. Candace will have all of the powers of the universe next time. Yeah.
And also just quickly, because I've been, very, very, very good, but I'm brand new. I've, finished my first book, and I'm at step 1. I mean, I'm not even, and so I've, just that's what I need to learn, it's step 1. I mean, it's great. People who have a book finished, they've got a publisher and how to go further with the marketing, but I'm at step 1. Okay.
Well, step 1, I just did a YouTube video on, the path to publishing. Yes, Carol, thank you for that. We will make sure that that webinar is posted. Thank you guys for showing up. See you in 2 weeks. And remember, ask for what you need and share what you know. Show up for each other and for all the other newbies. If something is puzzling to you, it is puzzling to 10 or 20 other people. So don't be shy. Candace and Mona and I are in the group every single day, responding and talking to each other. Oh, we need to talk about that. We need to address that. And thank you.